Welcome to Cycling Canada Wednesday night races, race number 2. And today's race, you'll see how to ruin one's own ride. So here we are, off we go. Starting in B group again. And last week you may recall that we caught up with the A group, so I wasn't sure if they were going to give a bit more spacing this time around, or what was going to happen, but all you can do at the beginning is hammer, hammer, hammer to make sure that you stay in the pack out of the gate. So last week, I did all right. That was kind of where I wanted to be, kind of second pack of B. I forget my placing overall. I should probably look that up. But sure enough, A group is out ahead in front of us again, and we're a larger pack than they are. So it looks like we're going to be an AB mix once again. So coming into this race, as I mentioned last week, I am now not skipping any runs for the sake of riding. So I had a big 24K hill run on Sunday. Then Monday I raced the Swazzers, Southwest Ontario Zwift Racing, for 40K until I cracked. And then had another hard run on Tuesday. Short hard run coming into this on Wednesday, so the legs were not good. No doubt, I was hoping for like maybe a top 20 in B in this one. I knew I was, again, not going to be contesting, especially as soon as I saw, again, we're going to be mixed up with A, because coming up at about the midpoint of this race, we're going to be going up the volcano climb, which is absolutely going to split us to pieces. And so, again, coming in realistic, hoping for kind of a mid B, top 20 would be nice. And just hoping the legs would wake up. Started into this, and they did not feel great. Good to see Kyle Orrick there from our Southwest Ontario Racing. You'll see lots of folks that we know from Ontario kicking around the pack here. But at this point, it's pretty straightforward, honestly, for the first half. I was thinking. You'll see that I was a little too confident on that coming up in a bit. But there's Ben Dobby back in the group. James Eaton joining us, which is great. You'll see we ended up in the same pack a couple of times throughout this race. James joined me for some commentary from last year's racing. So good to see him back in race mode. I know he's been off the bike a little bit, so welcome back, James. I believe that's Mark Musso, or M. Moose, in there as well. So again, lots of folks from both Mondays and Wednesdays. We'll see how the racing Mondays and Wednesdays every week will go. This year I was like, I'm not going to race all winter every time, because that's what I always get sucked into doing. But sure enough, here we are again. So now my commitment is at least the other 1 or 2 rides I do a week, I'll do workouts instead of races. So we'll see how that plays out over the winter. It's so addictive, the Zwift racing, compared to the workout. I mean, the workouts are really great. I've been getting into those way more than ever before. But yeah, it's just not the same rush. So anyway, just cruising into this, and then knowing we just gotta hang together, and that the fireworks I was expecting are gonna come on the volcano. So just gonna speed it up here, because there's really nothing going on as we roll through the flats. It's fast, it's a big pack, it's mostly 0 or 1% or minus 1%, and it's A's and B's all together. So it's going to be hot at some point through here. But just trying to keep kind of in touch with the front third of the group, keep hydrated, keep cool, a little cooler this week. Apologies for the chest hair situation, but I just could not survive last week with the shirt and the bibs on, so this is what we all have to live with. Probably maybe a little bit too close to the front here. There's no reason to be catching wind. This group is not going to be doing anything. Now and then someone poked off the front, but nothing I was expecting. And then I got a little bit of a nasty surprise. So we're coming into this long, steady drag out of the flats, and people just started hammering. Again, this is a detrimental experience of Bs mixing in with the As, is that you'll get As pushing every little advantage, every degree of climb, any long, easy climbs, any gravel sections. They just hammer to split the bunch. So you see I was unprepared for it. I'm pushing 350 watts consistently since things went off a few seconds back there, but they're still riding away. They're easily doing 5 to 6 watts per kilogram the whole way up this drag here. I'm happy I'm not out the back of the pack. I'm kind of in the middle of this stretched out group of mostly Bs. And I was realistic at this point. I had hoped to come to the volcano climb at least with the lead pack. But at 182 heart rate, 183, there's really no other thing I can do. I'm holding 350 watts. I can't really ask any more of myself at 183 heart rate. So I just gotta hope that someone is with me. And at least, again, it depends on the size of where folks end up, because you can get the ride to accordion way out. But if it ends up with 7 people off the front and 25 people in a pack behind, then inevitably you will catch up. So at this point, basically the B group is everyone's just doing the best they possibly can. There's a strong, confident group of A's at the front. There's several B's mixed in with them, and then the rest of the B group is this long snake of folks just trying not to die off of a 1%. Yeah, like I said, it kind of caught me by surprise there, but so hoping for some wheels, doing what I can. Trying to at least keep it strong. You can see they're not way away here. And so that's enough of a temptation that I am keeping the watts up into kind of like the high 4s. So there's Ian Hillis, another local rider. So nice. We ended up riding together, I think, for pretty much this whole race. And there's the main pack, just millimeters in front. At this point, it's all really going to depend up to what the lead group does as much as we do, because I can't sprint at this point. I'm blown, as is likely most of the folks with me. However, what happens often is after there is a big stretch like that, there's a compression in the lead group, and then everyone sits to recover. And so even though the lead group might be a little bit bigger than us at this point, if everyone simultaneously sits up, we will pull them back. Especially you get a couple guys kind of really trying to dig to bridge that gap. That just gives speed to kind of our whole group, and starts to pull us closer to the front, who's also all recovering at this moment. So it is, again, I'm at 185, like I just don't have anything left to jump that gap. And so you're just kind of on a hope and a prayer here that group who's only 1 second, 2 seconds ahead of you is going to come to you rather than go away. So I'm, clinging on by my fingernails here to the back of my little pack. And that little pack is just clawing our way forward to meet these other folks up. So I was happy at this point then that we did kind of come back to the lead group here. I had really given up hope up that drag. Only, it's not great getting cracked, whatever, 10 kilometers in we were. Makes for a long ride, but here we were back to the lead group. And then, of course, we hit this climb out of the tunnel and right back up to max suffering. And then there's a drag with the wood and with the gravel, which again just increases that resistance. And I'm blown. I am toast. Cooked. Toss me in the river. I cannot respond to anything that this lead group is going to do. And with the dust here, I didn't actually quite realize just how much that lead group was going away until the dust settles, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on some wheels. And then it's like, oh no, there's another 2-second gap. And this one is going proper away from us real quick. So we're all really toast at this point. You can see there's only a few of us in the group, definitely smaller than that last split. James is in here with us, but he's going backwards at this point. So I'm riding with Taylor and Hillis and watching that gap grow real quick, 4 seconds now to the folks in front of us. And I just need to ride easy for a little bit. So Zwift is telling me to close the gap. Yeah, maybe to the one wheel in front of me. But you can see how quickly everyone behind us is going back. James is at 15 seconds already. The other's at 26 seconds. And that front group is 5 seconds away. So writing's on the wall here. After all that drag to get back up to the lead group, all it took was one little climb out of the tunnel and some gravel. I was thinking at this point I could hammer it. The heart rate's below the 180, so I've got a dig in me if I need it. But I looked ahead at the train, and in 600 meters, we're going back up another 1% drag for quite a distance, for probably nearly a kilometer. And so I just said I'm not gonna race up to those guys just to get blown in 10 seconds more of climbing. So here we are, just rolling together, and I'll speed it up again because things get pretty bland here as we're all just thinking about the volcano climb now. So that's all before the main event that we got split off. And then you can see the group behind us. They start to come back. And they're obviously a bigger group than us. We're all pretty blown. And so I realize we're not going to get to the volcano before this other group. And so I just start to recover here, and I take several minutes to soft pedal because I figured there's a bigger, faster group coming behind. I might as well. What's the point of blowing everything to stay ahead of them for a little while? I'll just catch into that group, and that group will catch the group I was in a second ago. So good tip there is if it's inevitable that you're going to be caught, might as well catch some rest. And sure enough, that's what happens. So end up back together with James Eaton. And now it's gonna be volcano time. So the nice thing about having been split off into a second pack here, actually I guess I think we're probably technically about the third pack on the road because things have come apart a little bit up the front, but probably the second biggest pack, is that now I'm with folks who I figure, it's probably a fair game on the climb together. These are guys that are going to match me. So I'm just going to run it at double speed up the climb and down the climb. And so for the climb, it's the same idea as the sprint, right? So you just want to keep the close to the front. You can let 2 or 3 guys get away because a bigger pack will catch them. But you just don't want to get to the point where you're tailing off and then there's all these splits happening in front of you. And so then not only do you have to push to get around the wheel you're attached to, but then you got to bridge that little gap, push around the next wheel. And so you'll see what I do here is I just really try to surf kind of second, third wheel as much as I can up the hill, the same way that you surf a train going into a sprint. Is near the front but not on the front is the way to think about that. I also have a feather in reserve because I'm feeling pretty good about climbing with this group. I'm going to hold that back in case I do get dropped at any point. I can use that to get myself back on. Or if I ride the climb, no problem all the way up, then I do know there's a steep kick right at the end of this climb. And so that's where I would use my feather if I still had it, if I didn't have to use it to catch up any moment. So like I said, just keeping an eye on the front of this. Just being cautious as you go down these little downhills. Sometimes you can get a huge surge of speed from the guys behind. See how suddenly some guys came around there. And if you're not paying attention to those can get away from you because again, we're going real fast here already. And so if you're not paying attention, the front of the group catches the wind, the back of the group gets both the draft and the downhill and can sometimes jump right by you, and then you're bridging a gap. But feeling legs are tired, but fortunately they've come back a little bit at this point, for sure from the start of the race. I did a warm-up. I did a good 15-20 minutes warm-up, so I don't think that's really what got me in that first split. I think I just didn't have it. Or maybe I need to do a couple harder efforts in the warm-up. Maybe I warmed up too light. The other thing I'm hoping is going to happen here, and you can start to see it up front, is that if we do stay as a big group, and here I'm using my feather because things started kicking off a bit, and I was worried I wasn't going to go with it, that if we stay with a good sized group that we can catch some people ahead of us. So you'll see, if you look on the radar in the top corner, you'll see there is people spread all over the road. And they're coming back to us in ones here. And so for sure you can catch a couple up the hill, but even more so if we've got a large pack coming down the hill, then we can really swallow people up. Of course, there's nothing you can do about whether you get a large group or not. It just depends on how everyone rides it. And here you have folks pushing into the resistance of this wood bridge, which does increase the rolling resistance a bit. Which, it's not really what I want to see. I want to see us be as big a group as possible. The couple seconds we'll gain on a climb from pushing is entirely lost by having a group that's 10%, 15, 20% smaller than the group we started with. So always better to roll together as a group. But it's every person for themselves up the climb at this point, and you just hope that everyone can, stay together as much as possible. So at the end here, I have used up my feather, and there are a couple kind of hero moves on this really stiff climb, 10% climb. And so I do let a little bit too much go out here probably. Heart rate 186, that's about all I got. So I do end up having to do more work than I would like to do to pull this group back. But as long as I get them before they start really on the downhill, then I'm fine. And there's a nice long loop around the top of the mountain here, so it does end up working out. I do catch the pack before we go downhill, because once they start going downhill, the big pack just flies. So at this point, like I said, I'm hoping we can swallow up some people, make some additional friends along the way down the hill. And then there might be also bigger groups from behind us that catch us too. So it's really, at the point of the downhill, it's really just a matter of the size of the group that you're in, how fast you're going to go. The other thing that I do here is once you're over 60 kilometers an hour, you can drop into the super tuck. The super tuck is the fastest way to get down the hill, and is even more beneficial if you've got several people super tucking, so that you can both tuck and draft at the same time. Now this downhill has some shallower pitches as well as some flat and some uphill. So you'll see I end up being kind of in and out of resting in the tuck, and then anticipate that flattening out, make sure I've got enough watts to stay in the group. Because what you don't want to do is fly by everyone in the tuck and then hit the wind and you're not pedaling when things flatten out, and then the group goes flying away from you. This is an area where being a bit of a lighter rider has a lot of risks on the downhills, because you really got to be in the pack. If you lose your pack, you're out the back when you're on your own down the hill and you're light. But it all works real well here. Get some good recovery, get the heart rate back a little bit under control. Got a nice pack to roll with. And I don't think we've actually really caught anyone up. We saw some folks up a bit more on the flats, I remember. But at the same time, I was watching behind, and there's no huge groups coming back from behind us either. So there's really no motivation for us to do anything super nuts down this hill, or even in the flats afterwards. It's really, we've got a nice size group, and as long as everyone does a little bit of work, we can roll this real quick to the finish. So a lot of the same names, Sunny, Veldam, Kingston. These are all folks that I ended up being with. There's Hillis, Ian.